Tigers dropped the rubber match to the Aggies. Let's talk about it. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. After splitting a doubleheader Saturday, the Tigers were well in command on Sunday, leading 4-2 in the eighth, but a 4-run eighth inning for Texas A&M flipped the entire game. A 3-run homer by Caden Sorrell gave the Aggies the margin and ultimately the series. So let's unpack it a little bit here. If I were to classify it, I'd say this. You stole one on Friday against Tennessee when you were dead in the water, put up a 6-run ninth. You stole one on Friday against Tennessee, you gave it right back on Sunday against A&M. And over the course of a 56-game season, those tend to even out. You'll steal one, you'll blow one. It's kind of how it goes. It's why we look at baseball as a giant, large sample size. It's why what Jay Johnson did in games 2 and 3, I kind of have a problem with. I fully understand that whenever I say things like that, I'm going to get the segment of you who say, well, you don't know ball. He's the coach. He's won a championship. Yes, he has. He's also not infallible. And I think he's a great coach and he's a great recruiter and he does a lot of things well and he pushed a lot of right buttons on Sunday. But I always look at baseball like the stock market. Talk to any investor and they'll tell you you can't time the market. You have to be in the market at all times because there's going to be peaks and valleys and spikes and dips. And if you try to time it, you're going to miss. So you stay consistent and long term, you're going to win. When you have a better roster than basically everyone you play, you stay consistent and long term, you're going to win. Jay Johnson is being, I believe, a bit reactionary. Putting Jared Jones in the leadoff spot the last 2 games. I don't love that. Not because I don't think Jones is a good leadoff hitter, but also because Derek Curiel has been amazing for you all season. And so he goes a doubleheader on Saturday without reaching base, and you drop him to the 4 hole. It just doesn't make a lick of sense. He's your table setter. It's where he's been all year. Now you're making him uncomfortable not being the leadoff guy. Totally fine playing Ethan Fry. We talked about it all week. You played 3 lefties. You face 3 left-handed starting pitchers. You want to load up with righties? Okay. But Jake Brown needs to be in right field, and you want to DH Ethan Fry? Great. Instead, he DHs Ethan Fry, keeps a lefty in right field, but it's Josh Pearson. And Pearson went 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a walk. And if you go look at the defining moment of the game in the 8th inning, when Zach Cowan came in, the first hitter he faced with 2 outs in the 8th, before he faced Caden Sorrell, who hit the 3-run homer that beat you, Zach Cowan allowed a pop to shallow right that fell just in front of Josh Pearson. You know who would have made that play? Your best defensive right fielder, Jake Brown. But Jake Brown wasn't in the lineup because Jay Johnson continues to try this platoon thing, which is just not the right decision. It's just not. If you're an everydayer, thank you for being there. You've heard me say it enough. Jake Brown is your best option in right. He's one of your best players. He's your best defensive right fielder. He can run. When he gets on base, he can steal a base. He can go first to third on a single. He can score from first on an extra base hit. He can hit with power to all fields. Like, there's no sense in voluntarily sitting one of your best players. Yet Jay Johnson continues to do it. And it's just not the right decision. And continuously, it proves to not be the right decision. But he continues to do it. And I thought maybe he had cleared that hurdle last week when Brown started every game against Tennessee. But he started game 1 of this series and didn't start games 2 or 3. So I would look at the 8th inning and how it played out, where You got a ground out, double, strikeout. They go get Connor Ware to face Laviolette, which, look, Jay Johnson pushed a lot of right buttons, man. He twice went to the bullpen to go lefty-lefty on Laviolette in key spots. In the fourth, he went to Primo, got Laviolette to strike out. In the sixth, he went to Williams, struck out Laviolette. Jay pushed a lot of right buttons. And even after Primo in the fourth, he went to Newt, got Hensler to ground out. In the sixth, he went to Shores, who hit a guy, and then got a fly out. So Jay pushed a lot of the right buttons strategically in this game. It was just one too many late where Shores was going pretty good. You brought in Ware, who gave up the infield single on the tapper, which was unfortunate. You went to Ware to get Laviolette, who just hit a tapper to third, beat it out. I mean, he made the pitch, got a little tapper to third. He just beat it out the first, scored a run. And then you went to Cowan to go righty-righty, which I don't hate, by the way. And he just hit the bloop to shallow right. And Cowan made the pitch. He got weak contact, and it fell. And then all of a sudden, you have Sorrell up, and Cowan gives up a 3-run blast. So it's really unfortunate that it played out the way it did. And I think a lot of the reactionary things, moving Stanfield to left and Curiel to center, flipping your lineup so dramatically, I think, just my opinion, that's all I'm doing here is giving you an opinion. I think that is reactionary, and your team reacts to it as well. When you've been so steady all season going Curiel, Jones, Dickinson, that's been the top of your lineup all year. And when all of a sudden you start changing that, and then Stanfield misplays a couple of balls in center in game one, so then you move him to left and move Curiel to center. Like, what is that telling your team? It tells you that you're recognizing they're a problem. That's not a one-off, that there's a bigger issue and you're making these dramatic changes. And I think that makes everyone uneasy, including the people in that locker room. So I hated those decisions. Jay made a lot of right calls, playing the matchups with Laviolette, and he got a lot of them, it worked. But in particular with the lineup, in a weekend where, my goodness, over the course of 3 games against Texas A&M, 3 games total, you scored 1, 2, and 4 runs. 7 runs in 3 games. 3 in your first 2. You're lucky you split. I am not going to come here ever and crush a team for getting handcuffed by an ace. When Liam Doyle from Tennessee shoves against you, he's awesome. In the same way that Cade Anderson and Anthony Einson shoved against Texas A&M. Like, you can go listen to A&M postgame shows, and they're probably like, man, these bad approach, this and that. No, they face 2 dudes that are going to be first-round picks, that are going to give big league hitters problems. They're going to give college hitters problems. So too is it with Jared Spencer, Liam Doyle, or Pico Cone, or any of the elite arms that you're going to face in the SEC. It's part of it. You have college hitters going against guys that are future pros on Friday. Like, that's going to happen. I got a bigger issue with what we saw on Sunday. When you go out there against an okay arm, an okay SEC arm in Miles Patton, and he strikes out 6 over 6 innings, walks 2, 4 runs on 6 hits. When he handcuffs you, that's a problem. And if we're being very honest, the first 2 runs LSU scored were super aggressive plays at third by Josh Jordan, the third base coach, sending runners, where the Aggies just peed down their leg and couldn't execute a relay and allowed LSU to score their first 2 runs in the fourth. So you had opportunities, but so did they. They left them loaded in the first. Kase Evans worked around it. They left them loaded in the 6th. That's where you got Williams to strike out Laviolette, and Shores came in, got the hit by pitch and the foul out. So you worked around some trouble in this ball game as well. But ultimately, what it comes down to is you're up 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th. You got Zach Cowan on the mound. You got to be able to finish that game. And to this point, I don't know if you were watching the game, you heard the A&M announcer say it enough. It was the first time all season that the LSU Tigers led after 7 and lost the game. So you stole one last week against Tennessee, and you gift wrapped it and gave it right back against Texas A&M. So what does this mean for LSU, and how do they move forward? Got a thought on Kase Evans as well. We'll do that as we continue Locked On LSU, your team every day. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of more than 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trademasters program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Plus, managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals. You can stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. It is worth talking about Kase Evans, who got the start for LSU in Game 3. And certainly it was an advantage for LSU with Evans on the bump in Game 3. The fact that you didn't need to use him in either of the first two games, so you're able to throw Evans against Miles Patton, and quite honestly, Patton was better. Soft throw and lefty with out electric stuff, was the better pitcher on the day Saturday. For Kase Evans, he threw 93 pitches and got through just 3 1/3. I thought the A&M approach was better. They made Kase Evans pitch and throw pitches. At bottom of the first, ground out, hit by pitch, ground out, walk. By the way, I thought he got squeezed on the ball 4. Hit another guy, then finally got a ground out. Took him 31 pitches. He loaded the bases without allowing a hit. You can't do that against good teams. And yes, he was able to wiggle off the hook in that situation, but it cost him because you throw 31 pitches in the first inning. It's going to shorten your day. And we saw that pretty routinely as Evans, even in the second inning. So when Bear Jones had an error because he dropped a foul ball, it was a 1-2-3 inning, but threw more pitches than he needed to. In the third, he went strikeout, double, strikeout, walk, line out. That was the soft liner to Milam at short. And then in the fourth is where he ultimately got lifted after walking back-to-back guys, then giving up the single, which allowed the first run to come home. So I still think Kase Evans gives you a great advantage, but on Sundays when he can pitch. But I also look and say, when he can go out and win a game for you, you need him to go win the game for you. This is a great example. You were up 4-2 in the 8th inning. You were 6 outs away from winning the series, and you gave up a 4 spot in the 8th, and you lost not only the game but the series. So wouldn't it have been nice to have Evans there? And you can say, well, would you have even been up 2 had Evans not started? Maybe, maybe not. He only went 3 1/3 through 93 pitches in 3 1/3. Wasn't great today on Sunday. So I like Evans as a Game 3 option, but it just goes to show you why it's so valuable. When you have the opportunity to win a game, you will put your best guys on the mound. And you did that in Game 1 and Game 3, and Zach Cowan took 2 losses against a team that had his number, and you didn't have Evans available. So Tigers will try to regroup, and they got a big one this week because Arkansas comes in fresh off a home sweep of Texas. Now, we're going to get to Arkansas as the week goes on. But keep in mind, right now, Texas is leading the SEC at 19-5. Now followed by Arkansas after their 3-game sweep of Texas, who's at 17-7. LSU and Georgia are tied at 15-9. So LSU is still very much in a strong position for a national seed. I don't think that is in any way lost after this weekend, especially with a gigantic weekend ahead with Arkansas coming to Baton Rouge. Matter of fact, LSU's RPI, even after the loss on Sunday, is 8. So you're a top 8 RPI right now. You've got 10 quad 1 wins. You're 10-9 in quad 1 on the season. So the resume is plenty good enough right now, but you've got 6 conference games to go. I think you've got to go 4-2. You go 4-2, you get to 19, have a top 10 RPI, you'll be a national seed. You'd love to win 2 this weekend against Arkansas, so not to have to feel like you have to go sweep South Carolina on the road, because it's just never easy to win on the road in the SEC. But you certainly could win 1 this week against Arkansas and sweep South Carolina and be right in that mix. But if you go lose a home series to Arkansas after losing the series to Texas A&M, it puts so much onus on trying to sweep that South Carolina series and maybe even need a win or 2 in Hoover at the SEC tournament. So as you look at it right now, the live RPI after the sweep, Georgia is number 1 in the country now in the RPI, followed by Texas, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Arkansas. The top 5 are all SEC teams. Georgia, Texas, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Arkansas. Then LSU is at 8 with Florida State and Clemson between them. So if you look at, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Auburn, in the standings, Georgia's tied with LSU. Vanderbilt at 14-10 is tied with Tennessee. Auburn a game back at 13-11. So you have this log jam of all these teams that are chasing Texas right now and Arkansas behind them for these national seed spots. It's a massive weekend for LSU. You get a home weekend against Arkansas and you manage to win it, you've pretty much locked up a national seed. But you've left yourself some work to do by blowing that game on Sunday in College Station. Okay, y'all, let's put a button on this thing. It is Locked on LSU. Thanks so much for being with us here. Make sure you drop your comments. We always encourage you to do that. We'll follow up. Tigers have a midweek game on Tuesday against Grambling. Final midweek game of the year. Then it's home against Arkansas, at South Carolina to wrap up the regular season. Remember, the final regular season series for the entire league are all Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the extra day before the SEC tournament. Tournament this year, everyone, 16 teams is in it. Single elimination for everyone in the tournament, not just the first couple days and then when you get to the weekend. So we'll get to that as we get to it. But for LSU, licking your wounds, flying home after you blew a game you had in hand in the bottom of the 8th. So they'll have to rebound, see if they can do it. We'll be here for you on Locked on LSU. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review if you're on YouTube. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.